Uh, February 7th, 2023, I'm joined by Bernie Flynn and Sheila Vaccaro. We'll go right to item number 2, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Hearing none, we will move on to discussion items 3A, first one being Public Works.
Good evening, Don Edwards, Public Works Director. We have some significant updates this month. We had a kickoff meeting with a company that will provide free grant services. This business relationship was facilitated by the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. We're currently considering what projects we'll apply for. We prepared a draft list of roads to be paved by Liquid Fuels this year. I expect that we'll have a presentation next month that will include past paving, Aqua Pico paving, and our Liquid Fuels paving for this year. We were briefed on Pico's Harmony 5 project that will involve mostly aerial improvements on certain roads in the borough. When we get a schedule for this work, we will advise you and the public. We began our computerized maintenance management project. We had a kickoff meeting and another meeting that established our goals and objectives. Finally, through Mr. Metrick's contacts, we have a meeting scheduled with the Willistown Conservation Trust, who received a grant for lawn conversion. We'll discuss possibly working together. Professors from Westchester University were invited to this meeting, and they have also expressed interest in working together. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
One quick question about paving, because I don't know how this works, but once Aqua and Pico are finished their work, do they have to completely repave a road, or they just take out the section that they worked on?
I believe the way it usually works is that if they're working on one side of the street, they will only want to mill and overlay half the road. One of the things that we do is we will take a fee in lieu of paving, so that we can take that money, add it to ours, some of ours, like next year, and then we could pave the whole road. If it's a case where they have a water line that's or utility that's on both sides, then they would be responsible for paving the whole road. And in other cases, if they're right down the middle, then I think they're going to be responsible for the whole road.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wastewater.
Good evening. Sean Mitchell, Superintendent of Goose Creek Plant. Right now, Taylor Run is in the process of rebuilding all 3 of their sludge pumps in-house. They had to have 2 shafts reconditioned outside at a machine shop, but all the bearings have been replaced and everything else is going good with that. They rebuilt a primary scum mixer and tapped out all the new bolts, all the holes, replaced the bolts. They rebuilt and put new brushes in a motor in a aluminum sulfate pump. At Goose Creek, upon notification of by the emergency call-out boxes over 2 nights, Worthington Street Pump Station, we had a seal failure. So the crews went in, they pulled the pump out, they found that there was a seal failure. We bought a new seal for $300, replaced it. Actually, we put a backup in. This new one, there's pictures on page 2, Bill. That's the old one that came out. That is 7 years inside sewage. The second, that is just before the seals were replaced. New seals, gaskets, and dielectric oil was replaced inside of it and put back together. So that is now done for a very minimal cost. During an annual PM check, the plant's the employees inspected and repaired over 20 check valves and plug valves. They tore them all apart, put them all back together. That is an ongoing yearly thing now. With the help of the IT department, we stepped into the 21st century and pulled fiber optic cable into one building. So that will help us upgrade security, the Carteret program, possibly even let us monitor storms from home or a mobile place from a mobile phone with all the new technology and upgrades. We'd like to thank Billy and Jeff for helping us out on that. Plus it upgrades with the DEP. They like to see us upgrading to futuristic operations and makes the plant run more efficiently.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, how's the both plants doing as far as staffing? Are you guys up to full speed?
We just offered a position today to one, and Taylor Run is interviewing for two.
Thank you very much. Parks and Recreation.
Hi, folks. Keith Karowski, Director of Parks and Recreation Department. I'll let the report speak for itself. January and February are historically when I'm laying the groundwork for everything that's taking place when the weather gets a little warmer because we don't have indoor facilities. So our parks are our facilities. I did want to touch on one thing, and Sean and Billy hate this. They're not going to like the way this looks, but it's show you a little bit of my madness. Can you show the big board, Billy? He loves this. That is, now I have all this on computerized form, but that's my big board that every time I look to the right, I can see what's going on. That's laying out all of our programs, weekly, daily, camps, tennis, soccer, football. I know it looks messy, but in my brain, it looks not so messy. But yeah, just give you an idea, like literally this being the first summer fully out of the pandemic, I'm putting together a full summer of programs that moms and dads can drop off their children to, adult clinics as well, along with the 4 projects that we're really working on for our capital that were approved by council last year. The Recreation Commission along with the Rec Department said, hey, we want to find some more adult recreation planning. And Billy, can you show the next picture, please? I've already met with some folks in regarding this planning, and it's pretty cool. I feel like I'm taking on a new title or some more initials behind my name. It's the picture, Billy, of Hoops Park. I've been working and that is Hoops Park. And one of the items we want to get out there for, and now this is for all ages, but we thought it was more adult, is a 9-hole disc golf course over at Hoops Park. I'm working with the Chester County Disc Golf Alliance, who created the disc golf course over in East Bradford Township. That's at Mount Bradford Preserve. They're also working on one, I think, in Thornberry. Not only these guys help design it, they help because they're working on several different courses. They get us different quotes and prices at a better competitive rate for the goals, for the tee pads. I'm really looking forward to this. And now I can put behind my name that I'm a disc golf purveyor or disc golf designer. We are also working on bringing bocce to one of our parks, potentially Marshall Squares. They've already expressed an interest. And then potentially, sand or beach volleyball at Bayard Rustin Park. And we're still looking to potentially add another pickleball court, which is pickleball is exploding. I think it's somewhere down the main line. They're adding like a $6 million pickleball facility. That's awesome. I'm not asking for $6 million. There it is in a nutshell. And of course, our biggest goal this year is the recreation plan update. Sean and I are meeting next week to hopefully, I think we'll have the RFP laid out, ready to put out to the public. The scope of work's all ready to go. I'm really anxious and eager to get this ball rolling. It is going to be a lengthy process. Council will be involved. This committee will be involved. There will be a steering committee that will be created through this process with whatever consultant we're working with. It's overdue. It's needed. And I think it's really going to help guide us and be kind of our blueprint for the next 8 to 10 years. So once that gets up and running, you'll have a lot more information coming from me in the updates and where we're headed. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Did you talk to,
McGovern about potties?
no, Foster and Thompson?
I did, yes. We had a conversation. I spoke to, I forget the gentleman's name, but I can't remember if it was Foster or Thompson. I want to say it was Thompson. I discussed what we're looking to do. I said it's kind of a little bit from their perspective on the back burner because they would kind of need a plan and dates and a layout. But he said that it's something they would be interested in partnering with, potentially providing some kind of discount for labor or services. It's a little cart before the horse right now, but I did speak with them.
One other quick question, just thought of this. For the library
Yes.
with their storybook
Yes,
at Hopes Park?
Yes.
With a disc golf?
absolutely.
Okay.
It'll have to be laid out. Well, again, we got baseballs flying over there. We've got soccer balls flying around, pickleball, tennis. It'll be worked out in accordance. I'm hopeful that the library receives the grant, and if they do, we will be able to coordinate these efforts in a way that will benefit everyone. Part of the disc golf court layout and design is to not interfere with what's already going on there. Sure, there's going to be flying discs. It's part of the game. But what I've seen and the folks I've talked to, I'm not an avid disc golf player. I've had conversations with the Disc Golf Alliance and some players in general. And not that it's like regular golf, but they're respectful. I mean, they want to come to places that are going to treat them well. They're going to treat their surroundings well. They're going to blend in with their environments. And hey, you might hear a couple more fours over there.
I haven't. I was just wondering whether they fly at
I'll
3 to
give you
4
a-
feet high.
I'll give you real fast. When I was growing up, part of track and field was you threw a discus, and it's a hard piece of plastic or something made of very hard. And there's a basket, so many, like 300 yards away or whatever. Just like golf, you get 3 shots to get it into this wire basket, and they can go all different directions. But the discus that's made of is pretty darn. It's pretty darn. It's not the frisbee that you threw. You know, my age, we threw discus. You guys threw frisbees, so there's a total different makeup as far as the material is concerned.
It is different, but just like golf, they have drivers, they have short range, long range putters. There will be layouts. There will be, just like at a golf course, there'll be something of I don't know if it'll be in the ground yet or if it'll be raised above that'll tell you, hey, here's your hole. Here's where you're shooting for. Look out for people here. Look out for this here. There'll be certain ways you have to throw the disc to get the holes so it avoids where people will be. We're taking that into consideration. And the folks that I'm working with, again, have designed other courses. So I'm leaning on them. I've played disc golf like 5 times in my life. So I'm relying on their help to help out. And I've already spoken to folks at East Bradford. They're really happy. Now, their park is definitely different than Hoops Park. It's more of a passive walking park where Hoops is a little more active, but I definitely think we can make it work. And if we're going to have a disc golf course anywhere, it would have to be Hoops Park.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
We have a question. Ms. Dorsey.
Lisa Dorsey, New Street. Mr. Karowski, have you had any conversations with the Friends of Hoops Park on the disc golf? Okay. Okay. Bill, can you put up the map one more time? Oh, thank you. I mean, it looks like it takes up a pretty good portion of the park and that folks like myself who use the park for other things wouldn't have as much access as they do.
Where you're shooting is your H6 is your hole 6. The Bs are where you're shooting towards. So there's only one thing. The basically will be a small padded area where your tee deck, if you will, where you're shooting from, and then there's the actual goal, which is a little bigger than this podium, but it's round with the chains on it. So in between there's nothing. There's no sand traps. There's no fairway. There's nothing like that. So everything else will be kept natural. It's just from point A to point B. And again, we will absolutely stress, look out for your neighbors. And there will be signage on your post. It's part of the game, and we've laid it out to try and stay away from that. And one of the things we've looked at already, and the Rec Commission has talked about, where the current playground is up by the parking lot and the pavilion, we've had some complaints from the neighbors of basically walnuts falling and things falling on people. I'd like to move that to the baseball field, not the adult baseball field, but the one by the corner. I think it'd be a better area, and that would change the layout. We would move part of the course back up to where the former or previous playground would be. So this is the design as of now. If through the recreation plan update, things are determined that we're going to move the playground, then the design of the course would be changed as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Korowski, how heavy is the disc?
I don't have a number for you. I can tell you, I don't know the
How about
weight.
how about 2 pounds maybe?
No, no,
Pound and a half?
no. I would say a pound if that. I don't know.
Okay.
I can get the numbers for you, but yeah.
Yeah, to Ms. Dorsey's point, I mean, when I'm playing golf, a lot of golf courses have these, and Kennett Square has these by their
Yes.
soccer field. And they are very respectful, but just like a golf ball, a discus can go anywhere and clip somebody, you know, it's a little concerning. I mean, I like the idea, but it's concerning that we're gonna whack somebody.
Understood. And I have yet to get to all those courses, but there's Ansonby, Nixon down in Kennett. There's Kerr Park in Downingtown. There's the one in East Bradford. And literally where I live in Shillington, not close to here, in my Shillington Park, there's one right down the street. And I take my dog and my kid for walks there all the time. And I see other people playing and they see me playing. And like regular golf, which I'm more familiar with, if, you know, I hit an errant shot, which is often, they'll wait for me to come into the fairway to get out of their way or vice versa. That's where I learned.
I'm just going to share. I just looked up the weight of a disc for disc golf, and it's about 0.3, 0.4 pounds. They're not big, weighty. 0.3, 0.4 pounds.
That's a lot of weight.
Okay, but so that's I just looked that up. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
I know.
Dog gets hit in the head with one of these discs.
And I frequently take my dog over to East Bradford where this course is set up. It's not, I mean, it's not that same course, but they're frequently walk my dogs over there. In the Poconos, I have a park that I take my dogs and my kids to often. And I have never, honestly, I don't frequently see people using them. It's not like a 12 hours a day kind of activity. I've never been injured by these. I've hung out around them. My kids use regular Frisbees and play with them. I've known adults who do this. I don't see this as something that's going to interfere really with anybody's activity. There will be times that people will be using it, but I'm not seeing this as a huge safety concern. And I don't think what Lisa was bringing up, Ms. Dorsey was bringing up, that it's going to take up so much space. It is a large walking path, but it's not something that really interferes with the landscape much at all, because it's limited to these little pinpoint areas. So I would recommend, if you're concerned, go out to one of these courses and just take a look at what is there, because it's not hugely interfering.
We have one more comment.
Hi, question, Keith. My name is Lillian DeBaptiste, and I live near Hoops Park. So are doing something to reconfigure the parking situation that's always a mess, right? Baseball field. Did I hear you say changing the baseball field?
Oh, no, no.
Because, and the reason why I ask is because they have the parking in front of the baseball field or behind it.
Behind the backside, yep.
Looking, and they don't use it.
No, and that's the baseball. Again, the biggest issue on Newell Park's behind the backstop is broken windows, the foul balls.
Right.
And the baseball league is basically Memorial Day through Labor Day. They are there every night of the week, doubleheaders on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, I live there. I know
Yeah,
that.
you know that well.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me that.
No,
My
I'm
question
not-
is.
I'm not
my-
changing any
yeah,
parking.
Yeah, my question is, we have to, because where they park right now is they take up everything except the parking lot. And so you have unused parking space, unused space. And it seems to me that if you maybe even move the tennis fields this size and put the parking on the other side. Or since you're investing in Hoops Park now, we need to invest in a better, or higher nets. Because those nets right now, the balls apparently are going over the nets or wider nets.
The whole disc golf thing with
Uh-huh.
volunteer help is maybe, I would say, $5,000 to $7,000. Moving the parking lot would be significantly more. I totally understand your complaints. I've
Yes.
gotten many of the complaints from the neighbors in that area, and
Yes,
I've done everything I can to make them not park in the grass area, which they did for years. But the tennis, or excuse me, the disc golf, as we were discussing, it'll draw some folks in here and there. I mean, if you could see on a good spring or summer day, you might have 12 or 15 people playing throughout the day. But I don't think that'll have a significant impact on the parking. It's definitely the baseball that has the impact on the parking.
well, I think it all will have impact, but on the street. And I wonder if they could even have parking on that area where the trees are, because that's not, they park over there because it's not directly behind the softball field.
Right,
So-
we don't want them parking there. We don't want them, you're not supposed to be parking vehicles in a park. So they're not supposed to park in the parklands. They can park on the streets where their approved parking is. They can park, they choose not to. They can park behind, in the parking lot you're referring to, they just choose not to. And
I
like you
mean,
said,
is
you
there
got two
another,
teams. I'm sorry, go ahead.
there is another parking lot?
At the top by the pavilion, I think there's like 10 spaces.
Okay.
And there's parking on street on Hoops Park Lane by the tennis courts. It's Hoops Park Lane or Locust Lane. There's technically no parking on Hoops Park Lane as you go up into the park. You're not supposed to be parking there, but people park there all the time, especially when there's soccer clinics or family reunions, things that people are using the pavilion for.
Mhm.
They're not supposed to be parking there because if you park on one side of the street, you can't get two cars up and down the street and it causes the problem.
And that causes a problem in the neighborhood there too, because
Absolutely.
if they park on both sides,
And they're not supposed to be there.
which they do, we couldn't even get a fire truck up the street.
They could.
So it's a problem that at some point needs to be addressed. It
Okay.
needs to be addressed. I mean, I know it gets shoved to the side for the newer and the better and the greater pickleball and disc ball and all of that, but let's correct the problems at hand. Like the pavilion, and when we're remedying parks, let's remedy, parking, at the park. So we can't overlook that because, Hoops Park is an active park. And the neighbors deserve to have some sort of peace and solitude during those months too. Yeah, I know you understand. We just need to address it. Especially since it's going to get busier.
Thank you very much. Sounds like yet another reason for the master plan. Look forward to it. Thank you very much. Borough Engineers Report.
Good evening. Very busy month for us. We met to kick off onboarding with Remington and Vernick about 2 weeks ago. So we'll have a written report for them this meeting next month to add to the others. But their immediate focus is transitioning our MS4 permit reporting and rewriting our pollution reduction plan and TMDL strategy. We're winding down a 5-year permit cycle on a lot of our stormwater plans and reports. And we get to rewrite them. So they're going to wind us down on the 5-year cycle and write new plans for us. They're also taking on stormwater BMP inspections on private property. Those are required by ordinance, and for stream protection fee credits. And then illicit discharge detection and elimination program. That's testing our stormwater outfalls for anything besides stormwater and figuring out what it is, where it came from, and fixing it. They'll also be taking on the borough's streetscape project, High Street and Minor Street, after it's bid out this spring and the contract awarded. At that point, it transitioned to construction management and then closing out the grant for that project. So TPD is going to hand it off to Remington and Vernick at that sort of juncture of the project. They're also taking on the basically creating a strategy to address the aesthetic elements left out of PennDOT's project on High Street, which we talked about last month. So their task is to review the plans, get a better cost estimate for us, and then develop a strategy how to address that between PennDOT, possibly the university, and last case scenario, the borough going out on its own, looking for funding to do those, to get those elements included in the project. And then a few other things, infrastructure and funding for the infrastructure to make the closure of Gay Street safe and easy. That is also a high priority for Remington and Vernick as they get started for us. And lastly, anything grant related that we're doing moving forward, unless it's, squarely within the work of one of our existing engineers. Our report this month have some pictures from Greenfield Park. I mentioned we close out this project. We had our closeout meeting with DCNR, the funding agency who gave the grant. And the only thing left is closing out the grant, and then we're going to kick off landscape planning for that next week at a meeting with our rain garden maintenance contractor. The Goose Creek Alliance, they were at a meeting I think last month, maybe council meeting. They've agreed to adopt those rain gardens and make sure that they're functioning and looking really good. So that's exciting and good concrete thing for them to dig into. But there's pictures in the report. That's not it. But yeah, it's the one with the pictures of the rain gardens. Borough Hall roof, also very urgent project. We're still on pace to have this committee and council award that project at next month's meetings. It's going to be advertised on the 13th and the 16th. And yeah, hopefully this time next month, we'll have a bunch of low bids to discuss and debate. And lastly, our Downingtown Pike project, we're back in swing here. Pannoni is managing that project on behalf of us and East Bradford Township. They met with the contractor, and they're just working on a few things in a remobilization schedule, but that should start up again pretty soon. And there's really that's a pretty straightforward project. So by the time it starts up, it's going to be done. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. Landscaping again going in the spring, but this was the day of our meeting with the grant agency. So it's good to see those doing what they're supposed to do, which is retain stormwater.
Any questions?
The question on the roof,
Mm-hmm.
what is the actual plan that we're looking to do up there? I remember you said, I think 10% of it was really wet or it had to be replaced or fixed.
Yeah.
How old is the roof? Is it 30 years old roughly?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna fix the damaged area.
Yep.
Any thought of how long is once we fix the damaged area? The existing roof, is that a rubber roof up there?
Yes.
Okay, so the EPDM roofing companies say it's at pretty much as close to its life expectancy at 30 years?
Yeah. I think we can expect a 25-year warranty.
Okay, on the repair?
Yeah. It's re-roof. What we're repairing is the water damaged sections of the insulation.
Okay.
And that's what we got relatively good news on,
Yeah,
because that could easily spread. And if a certain proportion of it is water damage, you just have to take the whole thing off, bring it up to code insulation wise, put a new deck down, put a new rubber coating down. We only have to cut out very small sections, fix the existing insulation, and then recoat the whole thing.
so we're going to put a new rubber roof up there?
Yes.
Now, last year I talked to you about putting solar panels up on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense to start looking to do both of them at the same time?
Yeah, we have obviously rooftop solar is easily to conceptualize. We also have a concept for a parking canopy out front, which has a lot of advantages, namely visibility, ease of access. The access, especially to this side, is I wouldn't go up there. I'll just put it that way. And I'm not afraid of heights. There's no way I'm going up that ladder. but also covered parking for administrative vehicles so they don't get snowed on, rained on, iced on. They're not boiling hot in the summer. So there's a lot of advantages to doing something out there. It makes sense if we're going to do rooftop solar, we should look at doing it right now. Not as part of this project. There used to be a loophole in one of the incentives that if you did it at the same time as a roofing project, you could take the incentives and apply them to the price of the roof as well.
That's what I thought we were going to do.
Yeah, so IRS has gotten wise to that and it can't be done anymore. So while we would still want to do it while the roof is new, we don't need to do it at the same time, nor do we really have money to do it at the same time. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 4A. Approve the participation in the 2023 Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
So this is an initiative managed by the Chester County Solid Waste Authority. As this letter states, every municipality in Chester County participates. The gist of it is they take the lead putting together, I think it's quarterly household hazardous waste throughout drop-off events throughout the county. This is where you can go into your basement or garage, pull out the oil paint, paint thinner, old cleaning chemicals, gasoline cans, stuff like that that we won't allow in our trash and you shouldn't put in the trash. You can take it to one of these events. There's one in Westchester every year. We help publicize the events and educate people on what should go to these events versus throwing it in your trash can. The costs of these are, so Chester County Solid Waste Authority also handles the vendor, hires the vendor to actually do the disposal. The cost of the whole thing is divvied up by all participating municipalities based on the number of housing units. I looked back the last few years, it's been about $3,800. And then the last thing is the county takes the lead putting together a grant, and then we get reimbursed 50% of what we paid out. So the net cost for participating is about $1,500 to $2,000, depending on how many people show up and how much household hazardous waste is collected. We budget for this. It's on the recycling expense line item. Again, net cost $1,500 to $2,000. Normally, we wouldn't take this to council, but because they're asking for a commitment letter be signed by the municipality, we thought it was smart to bring it to you and the council as a whole.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, take that as a 3-0. Item B, approved one-year agreement with, is it pronounced Huff?
Huff.
Huff
Yep.
Associates to prepare Pennsylvania DEP 904 recycling performance grant application for calendar year 2022.
I actually emailed them today and asked them how to pronounce it because I think this is the third or fourth time we've done this and no one knows how to pronounce it. And we always talk about it at these meetings. So it's definitely Huff. So every year we submit a 904 performance recycling grant. It's a formula grant. Forget the exact dollar amount, but every ton that gets recycled in the borough, either collected by us or through private haulers, beer bottles at Barnaby's, we get, I think it's like $45 or $50 a ton through this state grant. We have done it in-house. When we do that, we get about $34,000, $35,000 doing it. Huff Associates approached us a few years ago about submitting on our behalf. And they do a couple things. They combined completely random municipalities into a joint application and submit it together and coordinate all that. Somehow that is much more lucrative than municipalities going at it alone. They also go out and get data from any big corporate entities that don't report to the municipality. Like Rite Aid is probably a good example. Rite Aid has to report to DEP, but not to the borough. So we're missing data from the likes of 7-Eleven and Rite Aid and sort of big corporations like that. And the the fee structure is we benchmarked our original grant, which again was about $34,000. And then Huff Associates gets 35% of any additional funding that they get above that benchmark. In the past few years, we've gotten about $55,000 from them. So in other words, they increase our grant by $21,000. We don't have to do it. It's one of those things you do once a year, and by the time you have to do it, you forgot how you did it last year. They get about $7,000 of the $21,000 extra that we get. I've looked at, trying to figure out exactly what their secret sauce is and see if we can distill it and do it ourselves and not pay that $7,000, and I can't wrap my head around it. So long way of saying this is the setup that results in the most revenue for the borough on recycling.
Any questions? Thank you very much. That would be a 3-0. Item 4C, approve the January 2023 meeting minutes. Any questions? Also 3-0. Any other business? Okay, we will adjourn at 6:36. Thank you very much.
How are you? You and Will wearing matching outfits? No one told me. I would have